Live from New York, from the Digifruit headquarters, it's Ask an Engineer.
Hey everybody, get your Fluke Digimeter keyboards plugged in and ready to rock, because it's time for Ask an Engineer.
We'll talk about that soon.
It's true. It's me, LadyAda, the engineer. With me, Mr. LadyAda on camera control and all sorts of other goodies. We're here at the Adafruit factory here in downtown Manhattan, where the factory is silent right now, but usually it is humming with activity, making, crafting, soldering, videoing, tutorialing, writing, reworking, and more, packaging and shipping. It's done here at Adafruit. Get you the electronics you love. But for the next 50-ish minutes, we are going to go through news, videos, tutorials, clear telephones, more clear telephones, other clear things, and more. What's on tonight's show?
On
Mr.
tonight's
LadyAda?
show, the code is Digifruit. That was part of our fun April Fool's joke, so I thought I would use it as the code this week. 10% off in the Adafruit store all the way up till 11:59 p.m. tonight. Things that are in stock. Make sure you add the code to your cart, and you also get free stuff. We'll talk about that. Adafruit Live Series shows, talk about that, including Show and Tell, which just wrapped up. From the Mailbag, have a special one this week from our community, and a special favor we want to ask you all to help us out and others with. Time travel, look around the world of makers, hackers, artists, and engineers. Some RetroTech, we got a cool thing we're going to show off. Some help wanted from a jobs board, jobs.adafruit.com, where you can post your skills, or if you're looking for someone to make and work with you, make cool things and work with you, you can check out jobs.adafruit.com as well. Main New York City factory footage. We got 3D printing. And Pedro have some cool videos. We got Eye on MPI. We've got some new products. We got Top Secret. Answer your questions. We do that over on Discord, where we have 33,000 of us. Come by the 24/7 hackerspace that you can bring your granddaughter to. That's what it's been called. All that and more over on our Discord, adafruit.it/Discord, and that's on tonight's show, Ask an Engineer. That's what we're doing tonight.
Yay.
Okay, so let's first pay some bills. LadyAda, Digifruit's the code.
Yes.
10% off, but you also, when you add things to your cart, you get free stuff.
That's right. When you order $99 or more, we're going to give you a free PermaProto half-size breadboard. Great for taking your projects, soldering them onto here to make them permanent. $149 or more, we have a range of beautiful STEM QT boards. You'll get a different one every time you order, as long as you have an account, because we can keep track of which ones you got. You have various sensors and controllers and configurators and adapters and such. $199 or more, you get free UPS ground shipping in the continental United States. It's trackable, it's insured, it's UPS ground.
All right, and just a bit of a reminder, please make sure you make an account on adafruit.com, verify your email, and put on two-factor authentication, because there is a global parts shortage, and for the people who want to get things like Raspberry Pi specifically, we're only allowing orders with folks who have verified email accounts and two-factor authentication. The reason we do that is so, and you can check out our press section, and I'll go over that in some of our other features tonight with some of the news articles, but basically, you want to make sure that you can get one and the bots can't come in. When you look around on all the websites out there, not Adafruit, but other websites, Raspberry Pis go in stock, and then someone buys them instantly and then sells them on eBay for like 500% markup. That's what's going on.
Sucks.
Okay, Adafruit Live series of shows. We do shows every single week. We just wrapped up Show and Tell. Thank you so much, Noah and Pedro, for doing the Show and Tell. I'm going to watch it as soon as we're off air.
I know, you had to craft this show together.
Yeah, we had to work on the show. Lots going on this week. And speaking of, on Sunday, we had Desk of LadyAda. LadyAda, what did you show on Desk of LadyAda this week? Sundays at around 8-ish.
Okay, so I showed off, we had a request to make a Raspberry Pi Pico to Metro adapter so people could use Arduino shields, so I kind of started whipping that up, just showing how I would start that kind of design and make some decisions about the alpha version.
And then we do the great search, where LadyAda uses her power of engineering to find all the parts you need, because it's kind of hard to find parts. So what did you look for this week?
This week, what did I look for? Oh, I was looking for an e-fuse, because somebody had an idea for a product, and I was thinking of how to do it without using a buck boost converter. And I was like, oh, I might be able to use an e-fuse to limit the voltage and current going into this adapter. So I wanted to find one that was stocked. We also covered these on the on INMPI a couple months ago, so I looked at that one as well, and I found another alternative. Both are in stock.
Okay. And then every single week we do JP's product pick of the week. Just a little bit of reminder programming note. Next week JP's off on Tuesday, but he'll be doing JP's workshop on Thursday. But JP's product pick will not be next week. So here is this week's highlight to watch and enjoy.
Wait, that's not it. That's just a Metro card. There we go. It is the Metro M4 Express. It's one of my favorite development boards. What we're talking about here is a really fast chip, lots of memory. So it's based on that Cortex M4, the ATSAMD 51 chip. And it has a lot of great peripherals on it. Cases where I really love to reach for the M4. I'm at the start of a project. I'm maybe not even sure what board I'm going to use ultimately, maybe not even sure what the form factor is, but I just need to work out some of how things are going to be wired. So I'll go with one of these Metro M4s, and then in this case, this was when I started working on that Pip-Boy project. I wanted to plug in the SPI wiring and get this up and running on a board that I can plug things into. I know it's going to have enough power to do pretty much anything in CircuitPython or in Arduino. The product pick this week is the Metro M4 Express.
Okay, and Thursday, tomorrow, is JP's workshop, and it'll also be going on next week. During JP's workshop, we have CircuitPython Parsec. Take it away, JP, for this week's
Choo-choo.
Parsec.
I wanted to introduce Vector I/O polygons. So this is something that works hand in hand with Display I/O in CircuitPython. It is a 2D lightweight shape drawing library. Last week we checked out circle and rectangle, these implicit primitive objects. This week we're going to look at the very versatile polygon object. So as you can see here, I have a Feather RP2040 with a TFT feather wing, and I have 3 of these polygon objects drawn on here using Vector I/O. They actually use just that one command in the library, but I'm giving them different sets of points and different positions and colors so that I get different shapes displayed on the screen. If you look at the code here, what I've got going on, I'm importing Vector I/O as well as some supporting things like Display I/O in the Featherwing library. And then I am creating 3 palettes in this case, and this is going to be changing, but right now I have 3 palettes so I can do 3 different colors. And then I am setting up this list of points for that hexagon. So you can see here I have these pairs of points which are XY coordinates of different vertices or points on the screen, which are going to be used when we then create the polygon object itself. Here in this command I'm creating something called hex1, and that equals vector.io.polygon, and then in the argument for it I'm telling it which of the pixel shader palettes to use, which set of points to use, and then an X and Y coordinate for the whole object on screen. You can see here, this is kind of interesting, when I do the stars, I'm actually only creating 1 list of points for this, and then I'm reusing it in 2 different places. So I have all of these different vertices that make up a star, and then I'm creating star 1 and star 2 objects using Vector I/O polygon, pick a pixel shader for those, pick the same set of star points for them, and in this case I'm putting them in 2 different points on the screen. Then I am appending those to the display and they show up right on screen. And so that is the basics of using the polygon inside of Vector I/O in CircuitPython. That is your CircuitPython Parsec.
Okay, and on Fridays at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern time zones, we have Deep Dive with Tim, so check that out. That's one of the long-form shows that we do that kind of shows all the ins and outs of doing things with CircuitPython. So check it out on Friday.
Bloop, bloop.
Yeah, okay, let's do some mailbag. This one's going to be a little bit different this week. Because it's a twofer. All right, so the first one is, we really appreciate when people send us nice emails, and we read these to our team, and also lets us know we're doing a good job on things, so thank you for that. This came in from a customer. It says, I wish I can attach an image, because they had sent this, I think, via a way that they couldn't. However, you'll know what I'm talking about. The quotes at the end of some of the shipping invoices included with my order absolutely make my day. So many things about your company impress me. Well done. You set a great example. Thank you. So, you know, if you go on like the social medias and if you just search Adafruit invoice or Adafruit invoices, you'll see people take a photo at the bottom of their invoice. And this is from adafruit.com/quotes. And this is quotes that folks send us, our team sends us, and we make sure they're real. This one's from Margaret Fuller. If you have knowledge, let others light their candles at it. This was another one. The miracle is this: the more we share, the more we have. Leonard Nimoy. People know Leonard Nimoy as Spock. And then injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Martin Luther King Day. And that's Martin Luther King Jr., and we have that on our site on Martin Luther King Day. And, folks like this. So we have to live up to these quotes and more. So one of the things I'm asking folks this week is we got an email from our team. Well, it was actually in our Slack. And our team said, hey, did you see that there's a business statement on anti-LGBTQ state legislation over on the Human Rights Campaign, Freedom for All Americans Education Fund? And we took a look at it, and basically, I'm going to go over to the share here. It's a statement that businesses can sign on to, and the screen is the text is gonna be small on the screen, so I'll just they have a pull quote overview. And this is a statement, if you're a business and you sign on to this is one of the statements that you're signing on to. We are deeply concerned by the bills being introduced in the state houses across the country that single out LGBTQ individuals, many specifically targeting transgender youth for exclusion or differential treatment. And what you can do is, if you're a company, so right now there's 229 companies, signed the business statement opposing anti-LGBTQ state legislation, stating their clear opposition to harmful legislation aimed at restricting the access of LGBTQ people in society. You can contact Workplace at hrc.org to join the statement. I put the URL there. So we signed it. I don't know how long it takes for them to add your company name, but that's not the reason you sign things, to see your company name. You sign it to say the support. Hopefully they'll put our company name on it. But my request is, if you're at a company, and sometimes these conversations are difficult, sometimes the company has their own politics or whatever, but maybe send a note to your team and say, what would it take for us to sign this as a business? And see what they say. Because the more businesses that say, hey, we're trying to run companies here and be inclusive and attract talent and bring people together and have a cool, safe workplace, these state legislation things are making it really hard to bring everyone together, and that's not a good example. And businesses often, just the way it works now, often have to say what they're all about and say what's important. So anyhow, if you could, y'all, check it out and ask the companies that you work for. I'm going to contact them, and I'm going to say, well, there's some maker and electronic companies. There's a lot of tech companies. Let me go through the list real quick. The ones that you kind of expect at this point, and I know it's just, sign in a thing with 23andMe, Accenture, Adobe, Apple, Airbnb, Ally, you could just go Amazon, you could just go through, and that's just through the A's. So, maybe we'll see Adafruit on here shortly. But it would be nice to see all the electronic companies that we all use and shop at sign on to this as well. So I'm going to send that off, and that was our little corner of the world that we have, our little platform, and we wanted to help get the word out. So thank you to our team for letting us know about it so we can sign on it.
All right.
Okay, next up, let's go to time travel. All right. Time travel. So working on AdaBox. If you don't want to wait for it, that's okay. We don't charge until we ship. We're still, so it is still cold in New York, so it's still kind of winterish here, but we're still going to try to get AdaBox out in the next, 30, 60 days. We're still waiting on lots of things. Global supply chains are grinded to a halt for the most part.
Yeah, when you shut down a city of 28 million in China, there's stuff that gets delayed. But, we're doing our best, and we will keep everybody updated on box status. And
if you want to cancel, that's okay. Come back later. However, we have about 300 or 400 people waiting for folks to drop off. So just know if you cancel a subscription, you might have to wait to get back on.
Yeah.
Okay. Other time travel news. It is National Robotics Week 2022. Check out our blog posts. Check out the social media things that we're doing. Lots of folks are posting up their robotics projects with Adafruit parts. Not a requirement, but thanks. We appreciate it. And we'll be celebrating Robotics Week all this week. And that's AdaBot. More time travel. So on, I played this video in the beginning of the show. And we wanted to do an April Fool's thing, but we didn't want to trick anyone. We wanted to be very clear. Obviously, this is a logo of the combination of DigiKey and Adafruit. Could do AdaKey, but Digifruit sounds better. And we combined the logos, and we were thinking, what type of thing can you do that is not mean to someone? It's not trying to trick people so they're angry. A lot of the April Fool's jokes aren't that funny.
Not pranky.
Yeah.
I think we're too tired for pranks right now.
And what can you do that just like that people are like, oh, that's kind of fun. Oh, and getting other people to play along, and basically you just have to spend more time thinking about what a joke can be in this modern era, because you don't want humor on this day to separate people. You want it to bring people together. So what we thought was, hey, what's kind of neat is a long time ago, Fluke actually made a keyboard for industrial equipment.
Yeah.
So we started with that idea, and we said, wouldn't it be cool if Fluke made a multimeter keyboard? And this is one of our designs. We pretended like we were going to build this thing. It has the Fluke yellow around the outside of it, and it has a built-in multimeter. And a lot of people have a multimeter on their desk, and we put the little thing at the bottom, available at Digifruit. We talked to DigiKey before we did this, and then what was cool is the folks at Fluke were like, hey, this is really neat. We also launched Game Software Day, perfect to pair with this keyboard. So they had they had their own prank that showed that you could play video games on Flukes. And then we put this on social media. People really liked it. They said, oh, I want to actually buy this thing.
It's a very handsome keyboard.
Folks were jumping in. They're like, is there going to be a SparkFun branded one? Literally all of us want this now. And then folks were like, oh, Digifruit, that's really funny. And we had a whole series of logos that we did. We approached this as, like what would it be like in this other universe where these two companies merged as one, kind of like the other side of the fly when you get out of the two transporters. Yeah.
All right.
And then, someone commented, they said, look, I know that it's fake, but Digifruit is a future. And it's cool. We do a lot of stuff with DigiKey, so folks like that. And then our friend Dana, who does these really cool, reimagining the future or the past. This is like a next console. It's a 50 megahertz 6803 with Motorola DSP, 2.88 megabyte floppy. Came with.
It's like an Apple IIc crossed with a NES.
And the history behind this is the reason why we got this shout out here. Thanks to Adafruit for allowing me guardianship over this beautiful example. Is we had sent Dana some Next hardware, so this is really cool to see. So it was neat because it's more like skateboarding, where people are saying, "Oh, that's a neat idea. Here's my neat idea. Oh, here's a cool product that I would like to see one day." And who knows? Like, I think after I get a little bit of time, I might email Fluke and say, "Hey, is this something that you would consider doing?" Or who knows? Maybe it'll come out one day.
Yeah.
So that was our April Fool's thing, and thanks everybody for supporting it and sharing it around. And I think that maybe that'll be our themes for each year. Is like, what's a cool idea of something that we kind of want to see that kind of makes sense almost, but it's very clear that we're not trying to trick people. And everyone gets to play along. Okay, we have some Adafruit I/O news. This is kind of a big milestone. Adafruit I/O hit 1 billion data records. Now, the interesting thing about this is the data for the free accounts rolls over every 30 days. We cleared out. So this is a lot. There's a lot of people using it. Last week, we had an educator's email to us and their website where they said they looked at all of the IoT services and they said Adafruit, it had everything they need for their students. Had a free tier, had all the stuff, had good documentation, good examples, and that's a pretty big milestone. So if you haven't checked it out yet, Adafruit.io, free tier for everyone. We have an IoT Bill of Rights. We do, I think, the best job with IoT. And then if you want to support us, you can always get a Plus account as well. Okay, retro hardware time. Time to look at things in the past. Okay, so this week, I just put these up today. This is kind of neat. This is a 1980 clear telephone.
Even the cable's clear.
And this particular telephone, they were making these without the touch tone buttons.
Yeah.
And
They
then
had a rotary one?
Well, they were making these without the touch tone buttons earlier, like the model. It's the Western Electric, like 1000, and this is the 2500. So the 2500 has the touch tone, and this is a pretty rare clear one. Not a lot of details on it other than it's ours now, but it's from 1980. And
Look at all that through hole.
yeah, 1980, and it's a rare example of kind of a different aesthetic, and I'm gonna go.
It seems really early for 80s because it's got this 90s feel to it, but it's 80s.
Yeah.
You want to go grab it?
Yeah, put it
Okay.
under the overhead.
I'll put it under the overhead.
Yeah, so here you go. So we have a whole bunch of clear things that we're taking photos of, but we like this idea because it shows electronics, and it lets you see that there's more than just an outside plastic shell. Like all of our phones now, all of our computers.
I like how there's a little piece of foam here to keep the wire from rattling.
Yeah.
Bells. Bottom, loud. You can damper. A lot of wiring. A lot of the electronics is actually on the back of the number paddle. It's actually kind of tough to see. And then the number pad piece came off because we removed it. And you can press the buttons. And then this is the wiring, and you can see all the spade wiring to the transformer, the high voltage stuff. You can see how this works with the relay. It's kind of cool. All right, I think I've shown it off
Yeah.
within reason.
Yeah.
Let's
And
bring the nuts back
so,
together.
someone pointed out
Wait,
maybe this is where Apple got some of their ideas when they were doing
yeah.
the stuff. And they made their clear
I
IMAX.
think it's not clicking.
Okay.
We'll figure it out later.
Next up, let's do some help wanted. Jobs.adafruit.com. That's where you can post a job if you're a company, you're looking
Yes.
for cool folks. Or if you're a maker and you have skills, you can post those up too. So this week we have 2 jobs. The first one is lead hacker at Hack Club. Check that out. It's a pretty important position. You would be in charge of their Hack Club. I think they do remote, but they have some details. I think they'd like it to be in person. And then this one is the PlayStation 4 to PlayStation 5 custom controller mod from Happy Cat Productions. And this is, they want help with how they're going to change a controller to work with another type of system. And they have a bunch of documentation. They have the specs, the details, and more. So check that out. Really cool job that someone, if you're interested in modding controllers, there could be a job for you. Okay, it is Python on hardware time. I got a few things going on. Highlights of the week this week. We've got, we got the full newsletter, and the newsletter is bursting with hardware and software projects, Python news from around the world. We have a lot of stuff going on. So what I try to do each week is pick out something or a few things that if you don't have time to read the whole newsletter, you can listen to this video or you can watch it and you can kind of see what's going on. So this week, we have a CircuitPython update. Major things, I guess, Lamar, we just merged in the MicroPython 1.18 changes.
Yeah, there's 2 versions. We have a beta and 7.3 beta. We merged in 1.18. We're doing a little bit of USB host support. Since Scott's out, there's not going to be as much development, but we're doing a lot of bug fixes. So check out 7.2.4, which has bug fixes in it.
And then I saw this was kind of cool. This was a person who made documentation for their joypad and Lumos ring with CircuitPython, and they made documentation look not so boring. And it's this app that you type in stuff, but it makes it look like more hand-drawn. And I was trying it out real quick, and I'm just like, oh, this is really neat. It has like a sketch
that's a nice
thing.
little diamond.
Yeah, so it's called Excalidraw.
Funny.
Yeah, so check it out, and it's in the newsletter, and like these are the type of tips and tricks and things that we also put in there, like if you wanted to have a flowchart on how the code works, or if you're using CircuitPython for education, which a lot of people are, and if you're doing your documentation, you don't have to use like very boring static looking art or graphics. You can do something that looks little bit more interesting.
I
so.
love the look of like a hand sketch. So
Yeah, and I like what the person who was working on this said. It says they may look a little bit gimmicky, but they like how it softens the otherwise clinical looking content. It's true. It's like,
Yeah.
We only have a few minutes to inspire someone to want to code or do something. So anything you can do. And thanks for the folks who posted in the chat. It's kind of cool. And then next up, this one has been making the rounds. This is CircuitPython Linux, sort of.
Yeah.
On a Pico. So here it is, and it boots up. It's Linuxy, and the GitHub repo is available. And one of the things I like about it is on the text on the repo, it says, "Important note: do not take this project seriously. This is not a real Linux distribution."
it's a kind of
but here we are.
fakey thing.
But,
yeah.
but that's what when Linus posted about Linux, it's like this is not a real Unix distribution. Like this is just a joke.
Well, that's why it's Linux.
Yeah. And so if you want, you can go to GitHub and check this out. It's bill88t/LJ LINUX Linux.
Linux.
Yeah. And then another one, I thought this was neat. This was over on Instructables. And for me, I'm starting to see like projects in the past that would be kind of hard to do, or maybe they would use something. It's like, okay, like here's 50,000 steps to do just one simple thing. I'm seeing tons of CircuitPython projects on Instructables. So if you wanted to make a Infinity MacroPad like this, there's a full Instructable available now. And then the last bit of Python news this week is over on our press section, we're keeping track of this because the Raspberry Pi shortage is in the news a lot. And we're mentioned. So production and supply chain updates, this was over on raspberrypi.com. And Eben, the founder, has an update about what's going on and more. And here's a quote from him directly. These backlogs of board Raspberry Pi units is faster than we can produce them. With the result of that little of production volume ends up being immediately available on reseller websites. Where units do appear, bots often attempt to buy up the stock, which then could be resold at higher prices elsewhere. Many approved resellers. Oh, wow, this is...
Your computer's like, time to update.
Yeah, computer's like, well, I want to update now. Many approved resellers have been implementing single unit limits to combat this, with Adafruit and others going further and enforcing two-factor authentication. We're encouraging other approved resellers to go this route. So that's what our reminder is again. There's a lot of people who are doing Python on hardware specifically with Raspberry Pi. So please make an account on Adafruit, verify the account, do two-factor authentication. And if you want to go to our press section, adafruit.com/press, and we're keeping track of all the different news stories and the websites that have Raspberry Pi availability. We're also mentioned in a lot of these on some of the things we're doing. So that is the Python on hardware news this week.
Thank you, Blinka.
Okay, open source hardware.
That's us.
We
I'm
have,
gonna sit up. It's my time.
yeah, so
Gonna open up my
we
diaphragm.
have 2,653 guides, LadyAda.
Yes, I'll tell you all about them. Click on the thingy. Okay, so starting with the bottom right, we have a guide for the ESP32S2 Feather. We've updated it. Kattni has been adding more pages. We've also got updated guide for the ESP32 Feather V2. It's a new Feather that just came out. It's like our ESP32 Huzzah, but more, better, and than ever. And I think we added the Arduino instructions. To add Arduino support, you're going to have to update, install the latest. But we show how to do that in the guide page. JP's guide this week was pretty cool. He worked with ToddBot. This was a request. ToddBot had a great collection and a gist of all sorts of tips and tricks for using CircuitPython, just a cheat sheet collection of random tips and code snippets that ToddBot uses a lot. JP and ToddBot work together to get them all into a Learn guide format. People are loving it. It's a great guide. Liz Clark did a really fun project. I said, hey, why don't you do some sort of pure data project with the ESP32S2 Qt Py and the new touchscreen controller. And she rocked it out by making this super chunky, Pip-Boy style controller with a touchscreen adapter. And, wherever the XY coordinates that you're pressing, it sends data to pure data wirelessly over Wi-Fi. So I thought it was a really nice example of kind of an advanced wireless music controller.
Okay. Next chunk of guides.
I know, we had a lot of guides. We had an update to the ADXL 345 digital accelerometer guide. I think Liz did this update. It's now been STEMMA QT-ified. Matt D came by. He was on Show and Tell a week or two ago and came by with the Pi Glass V2, now with the Pi Zero 2W. And so this guide shows all the updates. You know, we have some outside folks who write guides once in a while. The style's going to be a little bit different, but if you want to build a kind of complicated project, I thought there's a lot of really good gems. Liz also wrote the guide for the TSC 2007 I2C resistive touchscreen controller. So that's a STEMMA QT board we put in. And then Noah and Pedro built a MIDI foot pedal, like a from-scratch foot pedal. If you don't want to take a one off the shelf and modify it, you can 3D print one completely, add a potentiometer and a QT Pi board to make like a MIDI controller or any other kind of controller that can be adapted with CircuitPython.
Okay. And we wanted to do a little video that Liz made.
Yes.
Of the.
Yeah, if you like pure data or you like weird music,
Yeah,
you're going to love this minute.
And main New York City factory footage. And it wouldn't be main New York City factory footage without the latest time lapse from the Disney building across the street.
Now taking up the entire screen. You can see like a little guy there. Hey,
Yeah,
screwing stuff in.
that's how you can tell the scale of the building.
That's Disney.
All right, 3D printing, we're going to play these back to back. First, we have the MIDI foot pedal from Noah and Pedro, and then we have this cool speed up for the mini hot plate that everyone seems to like.
Hey, what's up folks? In this project, we're making a MIDI foot pedal with CircuitPython. You can DIY this MIDI controller and 3D print parts to build your own foot pedal. A foot pedal can add an extra layer of expression to your musical performance. This has about 22 degrees of rotation, which gives you a wide range of expression. It features a single potentiometer that can be assigned to just about any MIDI CC. Powered by the Adafruit QT-Pi RP2040, this tiny dev board is perfect for both simple and advanced MIDI controllers. CircuitPython has a MIDI library that makes it easy to develop your own MIDI controllers. In the code, values from the potentiometer are mapped to a range of MIDI CC values. With this serial monitor and plotter, you can see the values for the potentiometer and set the minimum and maximum values to fit the range of control change. In your music software, you can assign the foot pedal to control any number of MIDI CCs. In this demo, I have it mapped to a wah-wah pedal for a guitar synth. Get the parts to build your own and check out the tutorial on the Adafruit learning system. Links are in the description. If you're looking for more, the MIDI for Makers Learn Guide is an awesome resource filled with project ideas, demo code, and wiring diagrams. So what type of MIDI projects would you like to make? You can let us know on Adafruit's Discord and the weekly show and tell. Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe for more projects from Adafruit.
And don't forget, every single Wednesday, 3D Hangouts with Noah and Pedro. This is where you can learn to make all this stuff and more. Okay, lady, I think it's time to do some My Own MPI. Ready?
That's right.
All right, this week's Ion MPI is brought to you by Borns. That's the product we're doing. And DigiKey, of course, because that's where we're going to show you where to get this. LadyAda, what is the new product of the week this week?
Okay, so this
Ion
week's
MPI.
Ion MPI is from Borns, and they have an awesome logo, as you can see. Just love that little like twist on the R. It's like bangs. We actually featured Borns like a month and a half ago for their dual concentric rotary encoder. But it's, you know, sometimes you get lucky, you come up like a month or two later. So this week we're showing off the Borns. Hold on, let me get the exact part number. Well, this is the MF-LSM F200 /24X SMD PPTC fuse. Basically, it's these really high-powered polymetric PTCs, which are positive temperature coefficient fuses. I love this rendering. They do even kind of look like that. There's kind of cool gold and black color. And they're basically high voltage, high current fuses that are resettable, so you can use them in your design, even if you're using a lot of current, like for big LED or motor type projects. There's ones in this fuse series, I think, that go above 35 volts and 6 amps. So it's quite a lot for a PTC fuse. So these come in a family. This is the whole series is called the LSM MF series, the PTC resettable fuses. And you can see here, it's just the top of the chart. The chart's quite long. All of them have really good testing, really good quality. Borns has been making fuses and PTC fuses for a while. They're all, they're not tiny, but they're low profile and they're easy to pick in place with a big range of Vmax, which is the voltage to expect, I hold, which is the current that you can pass through safely at a given temperature, and I trip, which is usually about twice or ish, 1.5, twice as much as I hold. And that's when the fuse will trip. And by trip, I mean it will open up and disconnect both sides. So normally it's closed, current goes through. Current goes above a certain amount that could indicate a short or some sort of failure inside. It opens up and protects the circuitry from damage. This is from a really great video that we'll show a clip of later from DigiKey. They did a really great video about NTC and PTC thermistors. And so they actually showed that there's two kinds of thermistors. The Solister. Now, I actually had never heard of the Solister. Not a solicitor, which is a kind of like a British lawyer, I think, but a Solister. And silistors you see are PTCs, but they have like a steady rise up, and those tends to be used for measuring temperature, because you see a very linear relationship between temperature and resistance, and so if you know the resistance, you can easily calculate the temperature. Whereas the switching type PTC, which is the kind used in fuses, you can see it actually, I didn't know this, the resistance actually drops a little bit with temperature until it hits TC, which is the Curie temp. When it hits TC, the resistance, you can see it spikes up really high, and that basically opens up the circuit. So it's this nice graphic, again, from DigiKey shows. Low resistance when temperature is cold, high resistance when temperature is warm. And what's neat is as it cools down, it can go back to low temperature, low resistance. This is unlike most fuses. Got this pic from Flickr. The credit's going to be in the text because it got cut off. But you see here the fuse, when it blows, normally like a wire fuse, it doesn't reheal. It's blown once, like you have to replace it, and usually there's like a easily replaceable fuse. You can pop it out. It's not soldered onto the board. But with these, they heal themselves, or self-healing, because as the current, the short goes away, the circuit is open, the PTC will slowly cool down, and then it'll reclose again, basically retrying later. I do want to mention Borns does have some one-time fuses that are circuit mountable, like surface mountable. So just watch out. These are like, I think they're called like one shots or something. But these are the PTC ones I'm talking about. And you may be familiar because we have these on a lot of our boards. These are some green generic ones that we have on our Metro. We use them to protect the USB port. This is like a 5 volt, 500 milliamp or 1 amp fuse. And that's why for a lot of modern electronics, if they suddenly stop working, sometimes if you unplug it and wait a few minutes and plug it back in, it will work, because you give a chance for that PTC to cool down again, which is great. So one thing to think about is, okay, as more current's flowing through, the temperature goes up and then it pops open. It does mean that the trip and hold temperature will vary with the ambient operating temperature. So something to keep in mind if you're, if this is inside a machine or robot that's very hot, because there's a lot of heat emanating from a motor or a motor driver. Just be aware you'll have to derate, so you might have to pick. You don't want the heat to add to the. You add that to the TC temperature Curie, and now you're tripping a lot earlier than expected. So you might, if you normally would want a 2 amp fuse, maybe you need a 3 amp because you're derating by 50%. So just keep that in mind when especially if you're doing robotics or LEDs where the power supply or temperature, there's self-heating from the circuitry itself. So DigiKey has like thousands and thousands in stock, which is great because I always love to do an INPI where you can get the thing. So go to DigiKey. I just picked the first one, which I think is this 24 volts, 4 amp one, and I can quickly show it on the overhead so people have an idea of the size, and we can show the video. Boom. Okay, so let me get so close. So this is just a strip of 3, so you see they come on cut tape. And let me just carefully peel away. And yeah, you can see it's kind of got a ceramic-y outside. It's got this really cool lines on the inside. Big gold pads for lots of current transfer, but otherwise a great looking, and for the amount of current that this passes, amount of voltage, not too big. So usually PTCs were known for maybe an amp or so at the most, but now you can do up to 6 amps easily with these surface mountable fuses.
All right, let's play the video.
PTC, or positive temperature coefficient thermistors, are made of materials that increase resistance in response to a rise in temperature, while a decrease in temperature decreases their resistance. These are typically placed in series with a circuit as inline resettable fuses to protect against overcurrent situations. Here, when the overcurrent situation occurs, the temperature rapidly spikes, causing the thermistor's resistance to increase as well, reducing the current that is allowed through. There are two varieties of PTC thermistors. The first is a silicon-based thermistor called a silistor, which has temperature characteristics that follow a linear temperature curve with resistance gradually rising as the temperature rises. These are not very common, but do exist. The second is a switching type. These behave like an NTC thermistor until they cross a temperature barrier called the Curie point, or Curie temperature. The Curie temperature is a defined temperature trip point at which certain materials lose their permanent magnetic properties, which in short affects the device by creating barriers when it reaches the Curie temperature to allow the resistance to increase rapidly.
And that's
this
this week's Eye on VI.
All right, thank you, DigiKey, for sponsoring the segment, and of course,
Okay, lots going on. We're gonna do some new products, gonna do the top secret, just questions and more. So don't forget the code is Digifruit. 10% off in Adafruit store all the way up to 11:59 p.m. All right, LadyAda, let's kick it off with some new products.
New.
All right, okay.
Lots of news
first
this week.
Up, yeah.
All right, we've got from Sony's Presence and Framos the Sony's Presence LTE add-on board. So if you have the Sony's Presence Breakout, this is a board that adds like a bunch of stuff. It's not just LTE, although you do get a SIM card, by the way, so you can get quickly going with your NB-IoT cell phone data projects. But it's also got like headphone out, it's got the micro USB connector, GPIO output, micro SD slot, and a bunch of other things. I don't remember the exact list. Check the product page for all the details. But it's basically a Breakout, plus it's got this cool Sony LTE module on the back. It's the silver thing in the middle. It's so small. It's got a built-in antenna, which is kind of handy. You can see that big-ass antenna. Oh, can you go back that one? And then you can see the micro SD and micro USB port in the top left, and then headphone speaker on the bottom left, and then in the mid right next to the coin is the SIM slot. So, and it comes with a SIM. I think it's a universal SIM from Truephone. You will have to, of course, pay for usage, but a lot of NB-IoT SIMs are pretty cheap because you're not using SMS messaging. So check it out. You're get a couple megabytes maybe, and then sign up to activate the Truephone SIM.
Next up,
this is coming soon. This is the Lixie Chroma. So we're still getting. We're just going to contact them because there's a little bit of a confusion about whether you get one or two boards per pack. I believe you get 2 boards per pack. So one board has 2 digits. It's basically a NeoPixel array of 2 7x5 characters, and they've got a library you can use to, display text and like little animations and stuff. One thing I will note, the library does not work with anything other than the ESP32, 8266, or Teensy3. I do want to verify with them that because it seems like it's based on fast LED. That's just something to watch out for. So if you want to pick one of these up and you're using like a SAMD21 or an Arduino Uno, it's not going to work at this time. So hopefully they can get that fixed, but this is coming soon. It is a really nice way of adding chainable digits for fast messaging with one pin because it's all WS2812 based.
okay, next up, technically 2 products, but we're gonna do them kind of at the same time.
So this is the Pionora from Diodes Delight, Timon, who's been working on this project for a while, and I'm so excited to see it came out. This is for use with the compute module from Raspberry Pi, which is unfortunately a little tough to get, but maybe you already have them. And also there are some coming into the market. So this is a board that kind of turns the compute module 4 into an Arduino Uno. So the compute module plugs into those like Hiroshi-ish connectors. I think they're Hiroshi. And it gives you, so hold here, stop here. On the right, you see a micro SD slot, and I think there's a button on GPIO pin 26. The pins are lined out. For the analog pins, it looks like there's an MCP 3008 analog input to SPI converter. There's power pins, and then there's a bunch of digital pins brought out. Because of the layout, there's no SPI pins, so just be aware that if you are using a shield or something, you want to use an Arduino shield with SPI, just make sure it is expecting the SPI pins not on the 2x3 header, but on like the Arduino Uno side of the header. On the bottom, sorry, on the top left, there is a STEMMA QT/quick connector, so you can quickly add I2C devices from SparkFun or Adafruit or others. There is a switch for whether you want to use USB host or device. I think that's a good GPIO pin on the compute module, a USB-C connector for that. Do note if it's USB host, obviously it's not PD, so I think it'll just provide 5 volts flat. There's another USB connection for USB device, a NeoPixel on pin 12, and HDMI connection, and then also a boot button, so if you want to load firmware onto the internal MMC. And I think the micro SD slot, I'm assuming, can be also loaded with firmware. And then on the bottom, thank you for being so patient. I know, there's so many things. On the bottom, the light version doesn't have anything. So you see the bottom, there's like nothing
Yeah,
there.
we stuck both.
We stocked both, and if we have the picture of the bottom, of the Pro, there's a camera connector, there's an M2.5 adapter, so you can have like a SATA type thing, whatever, like M2.5, sometimes you can get like disk drives and things, and also there's a separate switchable power supply as well, though I don't have the details memorized on that power supply, so do look it up.
check
But
out the
basically,
photo
you get the camera port and the M2.5, which you can read about how to integrate M2.5 devices. Because it's similar to the compute module I/O board, and then you also have those SMT nuts to mechanically attach various M.25 cards.
All right, next up.
Oh, so much.
Yeah, it's a lot.
I know, but I wanted to give it a good time. Okay, this is the shoot. I can't remember the name. I think it's the Pi port or the Pi Zero port.
Why don't you look here?
Sorry, there was a lot of devices. This is the
Zero-
Zero Dock.
The Zero Dock.
Zero Dock. So this is a cool product that I saw, and it has a little spot on the left for your Pi Zero, and we just bolted one on. It comes with the little solderless breadboard. It does not come with the Pi Zero, but once you've bolted everything in, there's all these like fun slots that you can like store things in, and then you can wire up circuitry as well. So I'll show this on the overhead because it's a little confusing, I think.
Also has these.
It's plastic pieces and it comes with a breadboard.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's got header here. The Pi Zero is mounted. You can still access the micro USB and the HDMI port and the SD port and the camera port. So it's kind of above the plastic. And then this is just like, hi, I want to like store my like adapters and like whatever bits and cards. I kind of like the card holders actually, because that's really handy because I'm often swapping out. I have a Pi OS Lite and maybe like media player. And then, you have a little breadboard and you can just wire up like a button or LEDs or whatever, just a little bit of space. I'll just note, it doesn't come with all these fun accessories or buttons and LEDs or the Pi Zero. It's just the plastic piece and the breadboard, but it's still very handy.
Okay. And then next up, this is kind of a star of the show almost, because we have a lot more coming. And it's beautiful, and it's from a friend of ours, and it's, I think, one of the first like artisanal LED products. This is one of many, by the way. And if y'all are in the maker world, you might remember Mark DeVink. I worked with Mark at Make Magazine, and Mark now has his own USA-made artisanal LED line.
Yeah. So these are molded onto, I think, either a 3mm or 1.8mm LED. This is the first of many. It comes as a 5-pack. So they're hand molded, and it kind of got this kind of like cool crystal look, which could easily be used for like science or magic or like ethereal elf projects. Like, it's actually like this crystal shape is kind of
Yeah,
like multi-useful for
and this is
different,
part of a whole collection, so we just got these in today.
different fields. So we only got to photo 1 before we ran out of time. So I thought I'd just show it on the overhead. It's a little tough for the overhead to focus in on it. But the whole thing does glow quite nicely. It is a little brighter in the front, but the whole thing has like a neat crystalline look. It's only single color. Here I'm just holding it with a coin cell battery, and then this is what it looks like off. So even though it's molded on top of an LED, you can't see, like, it's really hard to see that there was something in the middle. It looks just like a fully solidly molded LED diffuser. And I like this shape. And there's a couple other shapes coming. But to start, we've got this nifty yellow stalagmite. I don't know what you would call these.
Yeah,
just crystalline.
stalactite, stalagmite.
Yeah, just a crystal element. And more to come. So you get a pack of 5 with each order. Yay. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Next.
The star of the show, besides you, LadyAda, our customers, our community, all the folks here at Adafruit, the staff, and anybody watching is...
This is the ESP32 S3 feather. So this is actually very similar to the S2 feather that recently came out. So I'm going to go through all of the details here. So the ESP32 S3 is a new chipset from Espressif. It's kind of the latest one. And like the S2, it has native USB, which means it actually worked with CircuitPython. It can act as a disk drive. We've got Teeny USB library. They use Teeny USB for support, so it can act like a keyboard or a mouse. It's got a built-in ROM bootloader, which is really handy, so you don't need a USB serial converter or any special chips. It works with the ESP tool. And it's kind of brings the power of the ESP32 to the ESP32. It's like the power of ESP32 plus the USB of ESP32 S2 equals ESP32 S3, because it's got dual core, again, which people missed. It's got 524K of SRAM compared to like the 384K that was on the S2. So it's got like 200-ish more K of RAM, which is great, just built in. So it's you can buffer a lot more faster. And it's got BLE back in it, so it's got Wi-Fi and BLE. And the module itself is like almost completely pin compatible with the S2. It's like a tiny bit different, but we designed our feather layout to work with either. And so this one just has different silk screen to indicate the S3. But otherwise, it's a lot like our S2 feather. Right now, there is not a version of the module with PSRAM, so we're just kicking it off with a version that has 8 mega flash, no PSRAM, but it does have that extra, like, it has the 500K of SRAM built in, and so we found that CircuitPython actually worked quite well with it. You can't buffer like huge files, but you can do a lot of basic Wi-Fi stuff, and you know, the inclusion of BLE is super great, and then the dual core is awesome too. Arduino support just got merged in to I think the pre-release, and I think the release is coming soon. So it's quite new as of this video, but a lot of people are going to be using it, so I'm assuming it's going to get better and better. There's Arduino support, like I said, CircuitPython support. It's like alpha, but you can use it, and you want a more powerful ESP32. I think this is, you know, what's going to really replace the classic ESP32, because it's got everything, you know, pretty much everything the original does, with the native USB as well, and the processes have improved, so it's actually cheaper to buy this chipset than the original ESP32. Other stuff on the board, actually I can go to this one real quick. I'll just pop through it. You've got a reset button that can get into the bootloader. There's a built-in LiPoly charging, as you'd expect for a feather. There's a boot button that can be used to force into the bootloader. You can also use it as a GPIO input, I'm pretty sure. There's an LC709203 LiPoly monitor. So instead of using a resistor divider, we actually have an I2C chip that can monitor the battery for you and tell you the percentage and voltage of the battery. And there's a STEMMA QT port in the middle with a separate 3.3 volts load dropout regulator. So you can go into really low power mode with this board, and it can go down to like, I think 50 to 70 microamps. And then the I2C port, you can turn that off as well. So sometimes the I2C devices don't go into low power mode, so this gives you like an extra switch. There's also a little NeoPixel as well. We've also got, there is a ROM bootloader. We also have a teeny USB, a separate secondary bootloader that shows up as a disk drive for people who like the teeny UF2 bootloader.
Okay. Nesting products. Okay. So don't forget the code is Digifruit. 10% off in the Adafruit store. We're going to do some questions. You can start lining them up in our Discord, adafruit.it/discord. You can also, of course, always, in best place, forums.adafruit.com, especially for the longer questions where we're going to need photos and some back and forth with our engineers and more to help you get any help you need with your products. But let's do some top secret first. Ready?
Yeah. Let's look in that vault.
Yeah. All right, so LadyAda, the top secrets this week. Why don't you talk about the first two?
I found this random ass UV sensor. I can't remember the name of that company, like Jenna UV or something. And they have an A and an AB UV light sensor. I thought that would be kind of interesting because I'm always looking for UV light sensors. A lot of them get discontinued. And then this ENS 160 quad MOX gas sensor I thought was kind of interesting too. MOX gas sensors, it's always kind of interesting. Different companies have different takes on them. The technology, the theory behind them is kind of the same with all of them, but they have little tweaks. So this is a breakout for the ENS 160. They do have an Arduino driver, which is kind of nice, so I can check it out. It's I2C.
And then we have a little video that we shot.
LadyAda, what is this?
This is a miniature, model train or model city or architectural model stoplight. And I thought this was a really adorable little device that maybe engineers could use. I've got it wired up to an Arduino Metro Mini, and the wires are really thin, so I just kind of got them stuck in here, but it's good enough to test. The black wire goes to +5 volts, and then you just connect red, yellow, and green to digital I/O, and then I've got a little bit of Arduino code just to test it out. But I just thought this was so cute. I mean, maybe people making electronic dollhouses or something can use this cute little model.
A necklace.
A necklace, maybe? Stop, red.
Yes.
Green, go. And I also got this interesting kind of test clip, which is 0.1 inch spacing, and you just clip it on. Very handy, maybe for debugging or programming.
Then we have a little short video, the latest PyLeap update that we're working on right now. Trevor put together a quick video. Going to show that, and then we're going to show some LED cubes, and then we're going to do some questions.
Hello, this is Trevor, and I'm here to show you our new PyLeap update. This time around, we'll be showing you the PyLeap update with the Circuit Playground Bluefruit. Let's get started. First, we're going to select the project. We're going to connect to our Bluefruit device. We enter pairing mode. And we should be connecting now. Awesome. So now let's transfer some rainbows over to our Circuit Playground Bluefruit. And just like that, we have rainbows. Let's try that for our Blink project. Awesome. Let's try a project that's a bit larger to put together. Doesn't take too long. And there it is. Awesome. And is it working? Yes, it is. Awesome. Well, there you go. That's our new PyLeap update. We'll check in with you soon. See ya.
Okay, then these are some videos of an upcoming project. You've probably seen some of this on Pedro's show, 3D Hangouts, but we got a lot of cube projects. And this is part of another larger cube project.
And this is before they figured out how to get the camera to not desync, and then they figured out how to get it to sync nicely.
Yeah, well, I think most folks understand that.
Yeah.
When you have a,
You'd be surprised. I'm going to have to say it every time.
yeah.
Now we're trying to orient ourselves.
Yeah.
I kind of like that it's a little Minecraft. It's like the test images of Minecraft cube.
Yeah.
There's something hilarious about that.
And then here's a pretty cool, this is starting to get
This
like
is a test.
matrixy.
Yeah, this is a test demo. It's not smart, but we're going to make it smart.
Yeah. And that's the top secret of the week. Okay. I'm going to jump right into questions.
Well, let's get some of these questions.
Yes. Okay.
So I keep leaning back.
All right.
Hello.
We're doing these over on Discord. So first question, you sell an ESP32 dual antenna in the store. Any plans to make a board? Fortunately, it appears bigger than the Feather.
The dual antenna ESP32, don't have plans to make a board with it, but I believe it's pin compatible. So you could theoretically take our ESP32 Huzzah and either remove the module from it with hot air, or you can just download the boards, files that we published and make your own and just solder the PCB on there and it should work.
Okay, where do you see the Maker Hacker community and products 5 to 10 years from now? What things will stay the same? What things might change? Well, it's a fun thing to think about because you can look back 10 years ago and things were a lot more expensive. They were bigger. You have to solder things yourself. And then if you imagine that still going forward, things will be easier, lower cost. Everything will have a screen. Everything will have battery. Probably scripting languages, Python-like things. And I think it'll just be easier. And then the other piece is how you use it. It'll probably be programmed from your mobile device. I mean, that's already happening now. So
Yeah.
that's just some quick ones. But what do you think?
Yeah, hopefully the silicon shortage is over by then. I actually can't think beyond that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I really don't know. I couldn't have predicted that, so I don't know how good these predictions are or how useful they are.
Okay. Question, you sell a SPI flash SD card chip format. Any plans to put it on an ESP32 or S2?
No, I think you would just use an analog or feather wing. I think those chips are cute, but I don't think a lot of people would pay to have it on a board. Most people really do like a micro SD slot instead.
Okay, the ESP32 S2, is it BLE or Wi-Fi, or is it possible to use both at the same time as a bridge, for example?
I don't know. You really have to ask Espressif because all that stuff is controlled underneath in the firmware. Your best bet is to check the Espressif documentation or open up an issue in their forums.
Okay, we shared a snapshot of the ENS S160 VOC sensor breakout. While building the prototypes, would you solder this one in by hand? If so, how would you verify there is no solder bridges underneath the sensor? I ask because there are 9 pads in the grid pattern.
There are 9 pads, but the center pad's ground, and so is an outer pad, so it's not that bad. I would use solder paste, and I would just use our little hot air plate or hot air station, and you just make 2 of them, and usually one of them works out. It's not as bad as you think to just make a prototype.
I was flashing ESP32 C3 dev kit 02 with the latest CP, but on the downloaded page refers to this other one. But then the wording in the title description refers to this other one. After writing the bin file, nothing happens. Did I get the right bin file?
I really don't know what you're referring to. So you should open up an issue in CircuitPython or on the forums, and maybe there's a typo, maybe there's a link wrong. I don't know.
This has a bunch of letters and acronyms.
This is very detailed.
This will be hard to do.
Yeah.
But we'll be able to help you out.
I can't see the computer.
Put the specifics.
I'm just in front of a camera right now.
Anyone know if the BLE support for CircuitPython is being worked on yet? They just joined. That was for the product that we showed.
The S3, no, it does not. I don't even know if it works in Arduino, to be honest.
Okay. Cool. Mark's going to New York City for a few days, first vacation in 2 years. What's your suggestion for a less known place to visit? So some folks said, get the High Line. There's a Ukrainian restaurant. There is a gigantic fan Star Wars experience thing going on that's just like
That was always fun.
memorabilia. I would say check out, there's a website called Secret NYC that has whatever's going on this particular weekend. There's a lot of art stuff. Definitely go down to the Bowery area and check out the galleries.
It's fun to see the gallery. Gallery shopping is fun because it's free. You just walk in and then you can just go to the eateries on the Lower East Side. Lower East Side is pretty cool still.
Yeah, hit St.
If
Mark's.
you're in downtown.
Yeah, hit St. Mark's, and one place on St. Mark's I would suggest to go to is Barcade. You don't have to drink. There's this arcade. It's an arcade.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of fun. and kind of a neat row of all sorts of different international restaurants and more.
Yeah.
Lots of great Japanese food. as
Lots
well.
of great food. Yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong with them.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Naomi Wu is testing UV bulbs for germicidal uses. Would that new UV sensor work to verify UV wavelength?
No, because that's UVC, and most people are not exposed to UVC, so a lot of sensors aren't UVC. The sensors I talked about are UVA or UVB, which is like what the sun gives off.
Yeah. One of the other things when I was talking about how the next 5 to 10 years with mobile phones, one of the things that we're seeing now too is, and someone mentioned in the chat, a lot of no-code solutions and things like Copilot, where you're using natural language to say what you want to do. That'll probably help people code quite a bit. Today, OpenAI released this really interesting preview of how AI is making art, and it's really taking natural language and then making art in a very specific, good way. And if you look at some of the things with Copilot, so you can imagine it, any person saying, I would like to get the weather on the screen and I would like it to be displayed in this way, and the code will help along. Like, you'll always want to do more later, but that seems definitely within the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
You'll be able to do more block-based for sure, but probably natural language coding. Next, a question. I've been having a lot of trouble uploading code to the Feather S2 with Arduino. I need to burn a new bootloader over the pre-installed UF21.
So the Feather S2 isn't actually made by us. We make a separate Feather called the Feather ESP32 S2. So you should contact Unexpected Maker and they'll give you tech support. A lot of people mix them up, but if it's the Feather S2, we don't make it.
Okay.
So I don't know actually what's up.
Question, what kind of touchscreen that could work outside, like resistant to rain and stuff?
Either resistive or capacitive. The problem is it's very, 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 very hard to make electronics that's resistant to rain and stuff. Being outside is extraordinarily damaging to electronics and enclosures. So if it has to last more than a couple days, you really need to work with someone who's done that kind of stuff before, because weatherproofing electronics is just really, really, really hard.
Okay. Oh, Timon's here. Thanks for the exhaustive coverage of the Panorama. Tuned in a bit late.
Well,
Here.
you missed the party.
Welcome, and congrats on the product launch.
Yay! Let's show it again.
Yay. It's here.
It's here.
And we have the Pro. We have the other one. We got both in the
That's
store.
right.
All right.
All right, you can ask Tim on all your questions for things I don't know because I literally just looked at it today for the first time.
Yeah. I think that might be it. Oh, do you know the pitch of the LEDs for the cubes?
We're doing 2 and 2.5, so try and keep it small, but we have a curb cut design.
Okay. Is hot glue enough to protect wires from water in a plant for a plant sensor?
Not at all. It'll come right off. You need to use marine epoxy, which will take 5 days to dry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, folks really like the new products this week. Thanks so much. And then let me just bounce over to this other one. I need a replacement adapter for an Atari C240. Does LadyAda have a recommendation for 3-wire 16 VAC adapters?
Oh, like a center tap transformer? Yeah, that sucks. If you're advanced, you could probably just get a center tap transformer from DigiKey and just carefully wire it up to a suicide cable. And that'll give you 16-volt AC center tap, but you can't really buy transformers-based power supplies anymore because they are very bad for the environment. They use a lot of current, but you could build one. Don't follow this advice if you're under 18 or you're not sure how to solder a suicide cable to a transformer safely.
All right, and I'm going to tell for places. Mark, on your visit, drop me an email. I'll make some other suggestions that I'm thinking of. We've also kind of been in one spot for 2 years, but we walk around New York. If you get a chance,
Little
by the way,
Island, that's always fun.
Little Island's a new
It's
park that just opened up.
It's a little trendy, but it's worth it.
Yeah, well, you know, one of the great things about living in New York is you get to go to all the tourist things, and it's cool, it's fun.
Yeah.
Central Park is always a good thing to visit as well. Anyways, any plans to use to update the MagTag to use S3 or C3 in the future?
It never uses C3 because the C3 has almost no pins. I might update it to the S3. I don't know how much benefit it would have though, since you know, the Wi-Fi works very well, and on the S2, I don't feel like we need BLE for it at the time, so it's not a rush.
Yeah. And last question, have you checked out any of the quantum computing platforms? I've actually asked LadyAda about that. There's nothing that we can kind of get our hands on. There's the practical applications they want to know about for the Google Circ or the Quizzic frameworks. It's one of those things where I think it's the technology is getting worked on, and how it'll be used, the practical applications, is the unknown.
Yeah.
So that's the piece where it's like, oh, is this it's the solution looking for the problem
Yeah.
type thing. So it's just hard to, if you've seen how these work and everything, it's like, well, I don't have that much liquid nitrogen hanging around to run one of these things.
Yeah.
Okay, that is our show for tonight, everyone. I want to thank all of you out there. Digifruit is the code. Special thanks to Jessie May, who's running things behind the scenes today in our Slack channel. Special thanks to everyone at the Slack channel and the Discord channel. And we'll see everybody next week. Full week of shows and more. We want to thank you for all of your help and support. We're really tired. We're going to go to sleep now, and then we're going to rinse and repeat.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
We'll see everybody next week. This has been an Adafruit production. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
That was your moment of Zener.